Hello everyone, this is basic tutorial on Perl. My name is Ani. I have some experience on Perl and I believe that I will be able to teach you some practical Perl here. While teaching you Perl, I'm going to make lots of grammatical mistakes, pronunciation mistakes, but I sincerely believe that I will make up for all those mistakes by giving you really practical tips about Perl. This tutorial is intended for anyone who is interested in making their job more interesting, giving higher productivity in the long term, then automate manual tasks, and of course the most important part is to improve your resume. Now, who should really listen to this tutorial? Anyone who doesn't have any experience of Perl, they are the ones who should be listening to this tutorial, no one else. If you already have experience on Perl, I think you better skip this tutorial. Okay, now why Perl? First of all, Perl is easy to learn. Second, it's free. Third, as Mr. Larry Wall, creator of Perl, said, that Perl will get the job done before your boss fires you. So it means that it is expected that you'll be able to do the things in Perl like really quickly. Now, what can Perl do? Perl can read from files, it can read from web pages, it can read from databases, then you can call some unique shell commands from Perl, and you can output of your Perl program, you can make it in Excel format, attach it to the email, then send it to your user. So there are lots of things which Perl can do. It's really up to you to think about exactly what you want Perl to get it done for you. Now, one thing I want to tell you, that at the end of this tutorial, if you guys don't go back to your desk and then start trying out some Perl program yourself, this Perl tutorial is going to be waste, right? So first of all, go back, then just try to do something with this Perl program, right? Okay. Now, what am I going to tell you here? First of all, right, if you look at this directory called Perl / tutorial, I'm just going to do ls here. You'll see many files here: action.pl, file.pl, index.pl, menu.pl, and data, readme.txt. Let's skip it for now. Now this data is a directory. Go to data, you'll see menu.txt and test.csv. Okay, let's go back to the main thing. Okay, now I'm just going to run through my Perl script here, which is the main script starts here, index.pl. I'm going to show you the output of this Perl script, and what will happen is I will open the corresponding Perl file which is responsible for producing that output. So this way you will know, okay, I see this on the screen. How is it done? Is it done using this Perl script? And this is the piece of the code which is doing that part. So this way you should be able to correlate the actual Perl syntax with what is happening. I hope that this will be more practical. Okay, so this is my starting place, index.pl. Okay, hitting enter here. Okay, now what does it do? It outputs lots of text here, right? Now some of the text probably you'll find familiar with, like why learn programming. Well, and I told you that this was probably the most important part, improve your resume, other than the higher productivity in long term and all that. Then also I told you why Perl, right? So one of the things which I told you is get the job done before your boss fires you. Then also one more important thing I would like to tell you is that there are many languages out there, but you need to use the right tool for the right job. So I really believe that this kind of support tasks, which are ad hoc, somebody is telling you to do something really quickly, Perl is the best bet for this. So Perl is a very good tool and a reporting language, right? Okay. Now this output of this index.pl also gives you what I'm going to cover, right? One is I'm going to teach you what is input, output, IO, what is data, what is versus program, and many other things, right? So here you see that the last line says choose section number and press enter, right? Now if you press set 2 here, it gives you almost the same output as it gave before. Again, if you press 1, it gives the same output as it gave before. But if you press 0, then what happens is this program comes out back to the prompt, right? Now let's see how it is actually done in our index.pl. So if you see this, then probably it will be a good start for you to see how the Perl program works. let me open this index.pl here. Okay, so since this is your first Perl program, don't get distracted with few things. Even if something doesn't make sense at this stage, just please hold on here. Towards the end of this tutorial, hopefully things will be clear to you. Right now, if you look at this, right, the very first line here, you just have to give the location of the Perl interpreter. The Perl itself is a kind of a big, huge program, and the scripts which you write, right, those are run because this Perl is there to interpret it. What is to be done, right? So you need to tell the program where that Perl itself is existing. Now on some systems it's under user local bin Perl, some systems it's user bin Perl. So wherever it is, you should give it here, right? How do you know where your Perl is located? Okay, the easiest way probably is type Perl, and it will tell you user bin Perl, for example. And if you still don't find the answer, just ask someone who is using Perl, and then they should be able to give you this where the Perl is located, right? Now the next thing, right? Require menu.pl, require action.pl. Please hold on for now. I'll get back to you on this one. Okay. Now here is my $section equal to -1. This $section here is the section name. Like if you see here 1 2 3 4 5 6 0, whatever I input here, right, 0 1 2 3 4 5, that's what I call this as section. So whatever value I input here, it ultimately gets assigned to this variable. Now if you see at the start, I'm saying minus my $section equal to -1. So this is what I called as initial value. So -1 is initial value. Then what happens to this $section, we'll see. Next line, it says while $section not equal to 0, keep on doing something, right? Keep on doing something. So if you go back here and if you look at this, then it says sections 0 is exit. So it means that while $section is not equal to 0, any other value you give between 1 to 6, what is going to happen is that it is going to print the same menu again and again, again and again, again and again. You keep on giving 1 2 3 4 5 6, anything out of this, it will go back to in the same loop. The time you press 0 here, it's going to come out. So that's what this is. Now if you look at this, right, this while is actually, we have already covered one very important section in this topic, and that is the loops, right? So while is basically the most popular way to loop inside a program. Now just about this, right, you'll also see something called as my $section equal to -1. Inside this, what is this my, right? This my is used for scoping the variable, right? Now what is scoping the variable? Now let's try this out here while we are doing it. Okay, so print section, let's call this 1, section number 1 $section. Complete. Okay. All right. Now let's copy these two lines here to inside this. Okay. Now the same print statement is used here. Okay, now let's see what happens here. Let's get out of this, run this again. Yeah, okay, here it's printing like this, section number 1. Oh, I should make this as 2, I think, so that it's very clear where it's coming from. Okay, number 2 here. Okay. 0 to get out. Oh, I have to control C it here. Okay, because there is fundamental here. I have introduced one bug in this one. Let's see. Okay, just to show you here, it says section number 1 equal to -1, section number 2 equal to -11, right? So this section, if you see this section here, and there is a section here again, right? These two now are totally different values, because this my section tells that it's coming from here. It's only limited, the scope of this variable section is only limited to this, and this section variable is basically at the top. Okay, now let's control C from here. Control C from here. So this is what we call it as scoping of the variables. Okay, now let's go back to, let's remove this whole thing from here. It's not required. Okay, it's not required. Yeah. Okay, now let's go back here. Okay, section not equal to 0, section equal to 1. Okay, now here it says that if section is not equal to 1, then print menu direct, otherwise do something else. Now what you see here, if, is what we call as conditional statement. Now there are various ways to change the flow of your program from one line to another line or another set of conditions, and all those you know Perl commands are called as conditional statements. Perl statements are called as conditional statements. Now if happens to be one of them, so it says that if section is equal to 1, then print menu direct, else do something else, right? Now this print statement is what we call as the output statement. So whenever you use this print command, whatever is written in front of it, it will be shown on your output, on your command prompt. Now there is one good thing about this print statement, and that is it also prints a variable. So there is one thing which is coming as a constant text, the text which will not change, and there is another one which is called as variable, right? So here, depending on what user gives as input, it will change. Okay, so now let's try this again. Yeah. Okay, if I print, let's say 3 here, you see that section number chosen is 3, right? Then where is that line, the one which we want to show? Section number is 3, then accept choice, start section. Accept choice. Print start section. Where is it gone? Oh yeah, here. Alright. Start section equal to 3, end section equal to 3, right? If you choose 2 here, then it says end section equal to 2. So this print statement, you can include a constant string as well as a variable string. Now why this is important? Let's say you got a report. Now in that report you want to show a header. Header says employee name, employee roll number or something, and then below that you can show the actual employee's name and the actual employee's number. So that way you can show both header as a constant string and the data which is changing. So this is where this print is coming in picture. Okay, again this is print statement. I'll skip this, and this is the end bracket for while. You got to match any start of your block with the end of the block, like while. Same case with the if condition here. So anything which is a block, like you want to make sure that the brackets like match all the time, right? Then at the end you'll see this print exit gracefully. Okay, now so now we have seen so far that that like your program how like it prints. So that like you already know the output part of this IO, then you know the conditions, then you know the loops, and you have also seen one variable which is called as section, right? $section. So you already know some part of this tutorial. Now let's go back and see exactly how this whole menu is coming, and like all these points are coming. Now if you go here towards the top of the program, it says require menu.pl and require action.pl. Now let me explain you something about it. See, when you write a non-trivial program, any big program, then what happens is the program becomes like huge, like thousands of lines, 10,000 of lines, and you really don't want to maintain everything in one single file, right? Now what is the reason behind that? The reason behind that is you want to touch the part of the source code which is really important for that particular task. Like for example, right, like you have got a report to be generated for, let's say, stocks, right? Now when you are generating the report for stocks, you really don't want to go and then mess up something which is for like HR, like for employees, right? Those are two separate things. You don't want to have all your reports combined together in single, yeah, in your single file, right? So for example, you might have a menu, the top level menu which says, okay, press 1 for stocks related report, press 2 for HR related report, press 3 for something else. Now you want to make sure that your stock related report and employee related report, the logic, the business logic for that is in different files, right? Now after some time, right, you'll notice that it's not just about cash reports. Inside cash, you'll find that there are various other sections where there are various other types of reports. So even those you want to make sure that they are in separate files. The logic or the business logic for that is in different files. Reason behind that, so for example, tomorrow if the HR person says that modify this report, then you only want to modify the part, source code or file related to HR report, not the cache one. Because by mistake, you mess up with the HR report and you'll end up like, the output of like cache report or stock report will also be wrong. You don't want to do that. So that's the reason why you want to divide your uh, program and make it into smaller parts, so that like other person, like who's trying to understand your program can understand it quickly. That's one more reason for it. And also you don't mess with your own programs, right? So what is this menu.pl? Let's go back here and open menu.pl. Okay, now you'll see that this print menu direct is actually coming from this. So this is what we call as subroutine or function or method. So what we have done is we have told that this is my whole program is like my main program, but then it also requires menu.pl, and this menu.pl has got this subroutine. So you have to understand it. This is very useful. Now why it is useful. One thing is readability point of view. That next time you want to do something, that you already know what this is doing. So you don't need to kind of distract yourself by adding all this stuff right here in between, right? You can kind of make a small alias for it or a small nickname for it, that print menu direct, and then you can focus only on this program instead of like focusing on your this particular part of it, right? But suppose you want to change something in this, then you don't need to open your main program. You can just go here and then make the changes. So that is the advantage of writing the small subroutines or small functions. So whenever you want to write your code, just make it a habit to always write in small subroutines or small methods. There's another big advantage of doing this. And what is it? Once you have written this print menu direct, you can call it from any place in your program, not just this. So only thing you have to do is you have to open another file, require this menu.pl in that, and then just print it. That's it. So write it once and use it multiple times. So that's the big advantage of writing such methods or subroutines. And this is what I was talking about it here, reuse and specialization. What is specialization? Here, print menu direct, the only responsibility of it is just go and show this while on programming and all this menu here. That's the only thing it's supposed to do, nothing else. So you assign a particular task to a particular method, and then that particular method, just leave it to that particular method to do that particular job properly. So that's specialization. And then you can of course reuse that method anywhere. So how is it doing it? Alright, so when you call print menu direct, it simply goes here and then track all like print statements and the constant strings like you'll see here, right? Okay, now let's go back here. The next thing which it does it, right, after this print menu direct, is accept the choice. Okay, now if you go here, you'll see that in the menu.pl itself, you'll see the accept choice. Yeah. Now here, what does it do here? Again, this is the output statement. Print here, choose section number and press enter, which you anyway see here. Choose section number and press enter. Now you press, but you notice one thing with this print statement. All other print statements, right, they immediately go to the next line. They keep on printing. But this one, it kind of waits for your input, right? So where is this waiting for the input part coming from? And it is coming from this stdin, standard input. So far you have seen output commands like print. Now this is the input command. It's kind of like waiting for your user's input. When you press 2 and then hit enter, then whatever user has chosen, that gets into the variable called as section. Again, remember this, I have written my, so that it doesn't clash with the other variable called section with the same name. So though the name is here, don't confuse this section with the section variable we have used at the other place. You have to see the block or the scope of the variable. The scope of the variable is limited only to this particular part, right? So again, the next line, it says chop. Now what is chop? Chop basically is to get rid of the hidden new line character at the end of the variable. Now where is this new line character coming from? When you press 1 and then enter, actually what you're doing is you're pressing 1 and the new line character. That new line character is normally not visible, but it is there. To get rid of that new line character, you use something called as chop command, right? So you go back here. Yeah, so this new line character is basically something like this, \n. Yeah, okay. So okay, again, like it says accept choice. So accept choice, what it's doing is it's basically waiting for your input. You input something, then it puts it into the section variable. Then the next one is act on choice. Now this act on choice, like we have put it into action.pl because it is something to do with the action and not related to showing the menu. So let me open action.pl. Okay, all right, here is act on choice. Now you'll see here that it says validate the section, right? Now the reason for validate section is that if the section is not between 1 to 6, then it's not really a valid section, and you don't need to act on it. And and if it's 0, then of course like you get off basically, just to validate the section. Okay, now if the section is valid, let's say everything is fine, and here if you go here, it says if section equal to 1, then read menu file. Now take a note of this. I think if condition you have seen before, but you'll see that you'll also see else if condition as well. So this is making that conditional statement even more complicated. So if something, then do this. Else if, do this. If even that is also not the case, like section is not 1, it's not 2, then do this. Section equal to 3. So this is one way of writing the conditional statement. I mean, there are other ways of writing the conditional statements in a better way, but we should probably cover that in some other part of the tutorial, right? Okay, now if section is equal to 1, you see here one difference, right? If I enter section 2, then you see this menu, right? If I enter section 1, then it says that this menu is shown from a file. Now what is the difference? The difference was, you saw my earlier command to print the menu. In that, like we could see the constant text right inside the program itself, right? Let me open that again. menu.pl, print direct menu. You'll see that this is the Perl. These are the Perl statements, right? These are Perl statement, and this is what is coming to the output, right? This is the constant text, right? Or I call it as data sometimes. It's like this has nothing to do with the Perl syntax itself. It's just the constant string, right? But in this case, let me go back to this action.pl. It says that if action equal to 1, right, then read menu file. So instead of printing it directly using that program, it is going to print from the menu file, right? Okay, now where is that read menu file? It's in a program called as file. What it does is, it says my input file is this menu.txt, then open that input file in the read only mode, right? If the file doesn't exist, then exit or die, not a very polite word. And then once you open this file successfully, then just loop through the file. So while the input file doesn't end, while is again a loop, it says while the input file doesn't end, keep on printing each and every line. Now you'll notice that there are some special characters, like this $_ means each and every line of the file inside the file. and while the file doesn't end, keep on doing it. Once the file ends, then just close the file once there is no more data, right? Now let's go and look at this data menu.txt. Okay, if you see here, the directory name is data, and then inside that menu.txt, you'll see that this is exactly what it is. Like, you know, the text which is shown in red, this menu is shown from file, it's actually coming from here, right? Now why do you want to do this? Like, you know, we already had a function or a method which prints this directly by giving a constant text. Now what we are trying to do here is we are trying to put it in a menu.txt and then read that. Why do that, right? See, one of the reasons is you want to separate your source code from your data, right? Just like you know, you try to break your big program into small chunks to make sure that it is easily maintainable. Similarly, it's a good idea to separate your data from your program, and that's the reason why like we have something called as the data file, right? We have this data file, and inside this data file, like, we have given like this text, and that's what it is happening, right? Okay, now let's go here. Okay, it says read menu file. Back to our index.pl. So this way, right, we have already now covered what is data versus what is a program, right? Okay, now we have covered conditions, we have covered loops, we have covered functions and methods like reuse and specialization. Now the last point which we want to cover is data parsing. Okay, let's go back here. If you choose 6, right, here, data parsing, it will print out something at the top. First equal to ABC, blah 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 blah, right? And it says look at the action.pl file, read data file. Okay, let's go back to action.pl. Okay, read data file, right? Yeah. Okay, file.pl, we'll have the read data file. Now you'll see that here it's almost doing the same thing as did before. It says the file name this time is now different, test.csv. So let's go back here and open test.csv. Now in test.csv, you'll see some comma separated data, right? Okay, now so to give you some brief idea, the last column here, it's intended to be active or non-active flag. So if the active flag is yes, it means it's active data. If it's equal to n, then it means that this data is not good, it's like basically deleted, so you don't need to process this, right? And the first part, abc.xyr, is actually first name dot last name of the employee, right? And what you are expected to do is that you are expected to print only the first name as output of the report. Not very pretty report, but you know, that's what trader has asked you to do. And also you want to print length of this column in each and every row. So that's your goal, right? Now how to achieve that is basically you go here, you open, you know, just like before, you open the test input file. Then while the input file, you chop. Again, you know, the chop here acts on every line. It gets rid of the last line character. Now what is this last new line character? If you normally open the file, right, you don't see anything at the end here, right? It just y. But if you just say set list in vi, then you'll see that dollar character at the end. That's basically like a new line character, and you don't want to see in your output. So that's why you chop it. Now this is one more. Next is very important and interesting command. What it does here is it says my at array. Now notice one thing, there is no dollar here. Instead of dollar, there is a at here. So what is the difference? You know, normally a single variable, right, it looks like this. You know, the value something looks like this, 12 for example, or maybe ani or something, right? But in case of variable, it's actually a set of values. So inside a single array, like you got a, you know, set of values like 12, ani, 44, something, yeah. So this whole thing becomes the set of the array, where this 12 is the first element of the array, then ani is second element of the array, this is third element of the array, and this is fourth element of the array. But when you refer to these elements of the array, you call this as actually zeroth element. Now don't ask me why it is like that, but that's the way it is. So the zeroth element of the array is actually the first element. Then the first element of the array is actually the second element of the array. So you will get used to it. It's confusing. Like we have done lots of mistakes, like in our earlier career, because we kind of confuse the first element as 1, but the first element starts from 0. So I'm sure like you'll get used to it, right? Now, okay, going back here. So you are splitting each and every line from the comma and then getting into the array. So this abc.xyr becomes the zeroth element of the array. Then this one becomes the second element of the array, first element of the array. Then this is third, and this is the last one is the fourth. So this way you are going to split that every line into multiple columns. So now again what I want to do is that I want to get out the first element which is separated by dot here and call it as my first name. So this is what happens here. My $first name last name equal to split based on dot based on the first element of the array. So you get the first element, then see if there is a dot in between, and then split it into first name and last name, right? Then same way, column 2 is the first element of the array, column 3 is the second element of the array, and column 4 is third, right? Then you'll see one more conditional statement here. It says next unless column 4 equal to y. So unless this column 4 is equal to y, don't basically go to the next line. Instead, from here you go back to the start of this while loop. So on the third line, if you find n here, then you basically skip printing this line or anything after next, and you directly go and start processing the fourth line. So this is again different way or different conditional statement. And also what this conditional statement does is it kind of skips the next part of this loop based on what is the value of the column 4, right? And then at the end again you will see the print statement and then close at the end. So now you already seen the last part of it. You've seen the parsing. Where did we have parsing? Parsing is basically you're going to look at this file, then you're trying to see if the file, if these values are equal or not. You're trying to split the data, you're trying to dice and slice the file into each and every column. So we have covered like almost all of this. Now I told you before that you can actually read from the database. Now where in this tutorial I did not show you how to read from database, but remember it's not that difficult. You can search the sample programs on the web. Fundamentally, even in case of you're reading from the database, the basic things don't change. Here you're telling the path of the file. In case of database, you will show them the path of your database server name, your user ID, your password, and actual database name. So, and in the same way, like here you open the file, you open the database connection. Then when you loop through this, instead of that, before this, right, in case of database, what you will do is you will give the SQL statement. You'll say that select star from employee where location equal to Japan, for example. So when you do that, then you'll get some result back. Let's say you get 1000 rows. Then you will loop through each and every row, and then you'll try to get out each value of the column out. So this is the way to write a program in case like you are reading it from the database. Okay, thank you very much for paying attention. One thing, very important thing I want to tell you again at the end is that unless and until you guys go back and then try it out, all this weekend effort is going to go waste. So I really hope that you go back and then try out these programs yourself, so that you can play around with Perl and see your productivity increase. And thank you very much again. All the best.